it is a Friday. Can I at least get an amen to that we have finally made it to the end of the week? I'm just seeing now that I've posted something here that I was just kind of working, but pay no attention. Look, it disappears just like that. Good morning to you. I'm Dan Gresham, and this is Dan's At-Home Update, simply because I'm Dan, and this is my house, and we're kind of updating things. This is not a newscast. I always like to tell people before we start, yes, I'm a news journalist. That's what I do. That's what I've done for 40 plus years now. But this is not a newscast. This is something much different. It's much more casual. It's much more relaxed. It's you, me, together as a community looking at things that are going on in the world, and whether that world happens to include the big blue ball or if it comes all the way down to just your neighborhood. It is still our world that we are talking about this morning, and our community that we live in. And I've said this time and time again. I know we're all paying attention. We're all on the edge of our seats. What's going to happen with this election? But sometimes, could it not be possible that we drink too much of the Kool-Aid when it comes to national politics? You know, that we get so caught up in what's going on. I think that a lot of times that's kind of been given to us as, oh, it's, you know, pay attention to what's happening. And sometimes we look at this big picture and we lose sight of what's really happening in the smaller picture, which is your house, you know, your neighborhood, your community, your town, your state. And we jump straight to this, what's happening in Washington, D.C. Would contend maybe that a lot of things that happen that we seem to focus a lot of attention on really have less influence on what goes on in our lives than the things that are happening right here, the elections that are taking place in your community. Who did you elect to be your councilman? Who did you elect to be your constable, your sheriff? You're much more likely to come into contact with those people and the policies that they make, don't you think, than the people in Washington, D.C., with the exception of regulations and taxes. I get that. But I guess the point being that sometimes we get so caught up in national politics that it takes us away from some of the real issues. Local news, you know, and I think sometimes, again, for whatever the reason is, we wind up there instead of coming back down to where we need to be. But that's just, you know, an observation. How are you this morning? You want to post up on what's going on in your life? You know you can. It's like any other Facebook post that you run across. All you have to do is tell me where you're watching from, what's going on, what's on your mind this morning. Yes, you will find probably some people who are political on the commentary, but that certainly doesn't mean that you have to be this morning. I always appreciate a like. If you want to give us a thumbs up, you know, the little blue circle, we always appreciate those, because those give us the ability to go back to the folks that we work for and say, look, you know, there are people out there, there are people who are watching, there are people who are of interest. I do this on my own time. I do this at my house, you know, but it still represents the company that I work for. I understand that. And I want to do a good job for them. And I want them to, you know, realize that you and I are spending time together. And that's exactly what we're doing. All right. So all that being said, again, post up this morning. Let's check who's dropping by. Cynthia Waters, good morning to you. Mary, as always, good morning. Kenneth is here. Amber is here this morning as well. Tammy, always with us, seems like. Good to have you back. Janetta, beautiful day. You're right. It is a beautiful day, and my family as well. And who could ask for anything more, right? And it is a beautiful day. Carlene Pardue, good morning to you from Nederland. Jeannie Foster says, Dan from Viter, it's going to be a beautiful day. Plenty of sunshine starting out this morning. Friday. I say finally Friday. Yeah, it has been a long week, and it's still not over yet. As I said, Jason Carey, good morning to you as well. Carlos Flores is with us this morning. You know what? And Chason, you bring this up, and I'm glad that you did. It is, in fact, National Nacho Day. National Nacho Day. So if you're looking for an excuse, There you go. Shauna Jones, good morning to you. Cynthia, you're right. It is going to be a beautiful day. Denise, good morning. Also, Lori Wedgeworth from NC. I'm hoping that's North Carolina this morning. Also, Nina McCarver is with us, as is Christy Miller. Also, Loretta Champagne Jack is with us. Good morning, Loretta. And glad that you're up. Grab a cup of coffee or tea with us this morning. April, you're right. We finally made it to Friday. Now the question is, what are we going to do with it, right? How are you going to spend the rest of your day? Can I tell you something that was really interesting in my day yesterday? I don't live in the country, but I grew up in the country. But now I live in the city. But my wife, she loves animals, and in particular, she has chickens. And we have chickens in a chicken house and a chicken roost and everything, which has been a lovely experience for the most part. But there are things that you have to do that you really don't think about. You really don't realize that happen when you get into taking care of animals. Like chickens can fly over fences. You have to trim their wings. It's not painful for them. It's as I understand, it's kind of like fingernails. You don't cut them all the way down. You just cut the very ends of them to keep them from being able to fly as far, so they can't get up over the fences. That's one thing you have to do. The other is you have to look out for critters, varmints. They like to get in. They're just like humans. They enjoy a good egg every once in a while. So snakes are an issue that you have to deal with. Raccoons are an issue you have to deal with. And as of late, we have been dealing with possums. And so yesterday when I got home, my wife said, "Oh, look, I have something for you today that you need to take care of." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. What can I do for you?" And she holds up her phone, and she has video. She has video because she was already upset. She has video of a possum sitting in the roost with a whole egg in its mouth. She said, "This is a problem." So I spent my day trapping a possum, removing the possum from the premises, and giving it another new home, a good home. Good home. No one harmed in this event. I don't think, as far as I could tell. But anyway, so that was part of my day today. Let's see what else is popping up this morning. All right, David Hall says, "Don't really care for at-home updates. Just do your job from the studio. Almost giving up on 6 News lately." Well, David, I'm sorry to hear that you're giving up on 6 News. I'm not sure why. Maybe because you feel like, it's going in a direction you don't want. But I like to think, David, I can do my job at the studio and also do my job at home. And that we can cover bases at both places and we can keep people informed. But I understand if you're not on board, hey, like I say, I'm always listening. I got you. And I certainly don't expect everyone to agree and everyone, to take part. So there you go. Nina McCarver says, "Still looking at what the hurricane has done. It still looks bad." And she's talking about ETA. And yeah, it's still out there and it's still kind of meandering around. And you look at the spaghetti models and you will see them. It almost does but the bottom line, Nina, is at this point, listening to the meteorologists, it doesn't look like it's going to be somewhere west of New Orleans. So we'll hope that's the case, and we'll keep an eye on it. Darla White, good morning from Pensacola Beach, Florida. Ooh, good time of the year to be in Pensacola. This is kind of my favorite time to go out of town and trips pre-pandemic. Always loved to travel in October and November because that's when you could go places and they're not quite as busy. Everybody's home. The holidays are a good time to travel places other than, the big tourist meccas. It's always then. All right, this morning, also good morning from Viter, says Deborah Carter. Also good morning from Angela. She's watching up in Nacogdoches. Thank you, Angela. Appreciate that. Somebody wrote nachos. Ruth Hancock says, "Good morning from March. Just returned from the sleep lab at Baptist Hospital for the 4th time. Hopefully this time I slept enough to get some results." That is frustrating, isn't it? I've never been through that, but I've done a couple of stories in the past about sleep apnea and how we can go to the lab, and we did I'm not sure I would be one of those people who could sit through that. When it's kind of like that idea when somebody tells you go to sleep right now. It's almost impossible to do. You're talking to somebody who takes a nap every single day, because that's just my routine that I've been in for years. Go to work in the middle of the night, you come home early, take a nap, and you start another day. I get 2 days every day. I get 2 wake-ups out of every day. I hope, my theory is that we probably all have a limited number, and I don't know if I'm burning that candle at both ends, but that's the way. But yeah, I get you. I understand what you're saying. Ken Brand says, sitting in my window watching the snow and a moose in my yard here in Alaska. Have a great day from the Arctic. Well, Ken, thanks for checking us out up in Alaska. I'd like to experience that. I really would. One of my ambitions has always been, I want to ride my motorcycle up to the Arctic Circle, and then turn around and come back, ride some other parts of the country. But I've always, one of the few states I have not been to, there are only like 3 that I haven't been to. Alaska, Hawaii are 2 of them. I would love, so Ken, can I look you up when I get that direction? Should I just call before I come? Do we have dinner, talk about what's going on, that sort of thing? Deborah Cutterer asks, are you growing a beard? To answer your question, I am trying, I don't know if it's growing a beard. What I am doing is participating, Deborah, in something that is called No Shave November. And it is to bring awareness to men's cancer issues. I'm doing this in memory of my brother, who died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and also for all the other people. Here's my little thing I made. Don't hate the facial hair. Dan's taking part in No Shave November to raise awareness for men's cancer. You can find out more, or maybe you want to start your own. Just all we're asking is you put down the razor for 30 days to raise awareness. Pretty simple, because people will ask questions just like you did. Oh my gosh, what, did you forget to wash your face? I've heard them all. I really have. And I beg your indulgence while I do this, but I just felt like it was an important thing to do this year for a lot of reasons, but I did. All right, Jeannie knows what I'm talking about. She's posting up about it this morning. Okay. Want to spend some time talking about what's going on in the headlines. I'm definitely, I'm not going to dive in very deep here, because I think this is up to you to dive in deep. And if you want to read more about the campaigns, if you want to read more about the elections, if you want to know more about the balloting, I had somebody ask me today, who I thought would know this, was asking about vote counting. And we were talking, and he was under the impression that all communities, all states did it exactly the same way. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's never been that way. It's never been one way for everyone. And he was saying, well, I don't understand. Don't they just, walk in and the number's already there? I said, no, that's not how it works. There are a lot of different things that they do, and in different states. And it would take forever to go through all of them. But anyway, you can dig through that if you want to. But I just wanted to show you the developing story at this hour. Again, former Vice President Biden is now leading President Trump in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. He's also overtaken the president in Georgia. And if he holds on to that lead, he would go beyond 270 electoral votes, and he would be the president-elect of the United States. If, and that's a very big if, because they have not gotten to that point now. The ballots are still being counted. And until everyone is counted, then nothing is for sure. We've spoke about this a couple of times since Tuesday. What you're seeing, and there's a lot of talk too about maybe we change the way we cover elections in this country. Maybe this is a good time to talk about why you don't make projections. Every one of these networks has data centers and projection centers where they have statisticians sitting in, calculating all the things that are going on, watching every single trend, going, okay, number of votes available, current trend, this candidate's getting 60%, that candidate's getting 40%, you have X number of ballots left. In this particular county, this is the way they've been going. So if we extrapolate that out, this is what's going to happen. Well, that's all well and fine when you have obvious, clear-cut numbers in an election. But when you don't, then all of a sudden the waters get very muddy and people start making projections. I'll give you a good example. People not happy about the fact that Fox Network projected that Arizona went to Biden before the rest of the networks and news organizations. But they were defending themselves saying, look, this are the numbers. This is the way we think it's going to go. We're not going to back off. And historically speaking, they've been pretty accurate. But the question has become, is it time to change the way we report on elections? That maybe there are no projections anymore. Maybe you just wait till the final totals come in. But the question becomes, is it part of the problem that we're such an instant society, an instant gratification, instant knowledge, that we wouldn't accept that? Because we would be saying, no, I need to know it right now. I have to know right now. Instead of being willing to say, okay, whatever it takes, however long it takes. Because, again, I want to refresh your memory. If you're one of those people who's been going around going, this has never happened before. We've never had an election that we didn't know definitively who was officially the president of the United States within, 2 days or 1 day or the same day. Not true. And you don't have to go very far back. If you'll just go back to 2000, I think if you'll do a little bit of homework, you'll find out that we really didn't know until a court decision was made who the president of the United States, or the president-elect, until December the 13th. That's a lot longer than a week. But again, this is not something that's never happened before. It's something that, again, instant gratification or instant information makes us feel like it hasn't, perhaps. But again, I just want to remind you, we're not going to jump to a conclusion until we're told that's what it is. Votes are certified. I think you will see people, though, who will be making projections because those key states are getting closer and closer and closer to coming to some kind of an announcement, I think. So we'll keep an eye on that. Another story that concerns me greatly, and I hope you'll pay attention to as well. Philadelphia police detained 2 after tip about armed group at ballot counting site. This is Houston Chronicle, but you can see it's actually from the Washington Post. A shared story. Police in Philadelphia detained 2 men late on Thursday night after receiving a tip about an armed group from outside of state headed to the city's vote counting center where final ballots in the presidential election are being tallied. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, law enforcement had received information about a Hummer with 2 or 3 armed individuals making its way to the convention center. Inside, of course, they're tallying all the votes. Nobody hurt in the incident. Not clear if any weapons were recovered, although I have seen other reports that said that weapons were recovered. Philadelphia police not responding as of early, Friday morning. It was one way. So my point being, is this a sign of the times? Is this something we're going to see more of? I think a lot of people are very anxious about that idea. Also this morning, a lot of people talking about why isn't the popular vote the definitive end all be all? Because we have in our Constitution set up the idea of an electoral college. And if you don't know where that comes from, I would suggest you do a little bit of research, find out how this came to be and why it came to be, and you'll find out it's been around since the beginning, since we started voting for candidates in this country, the electoral college. But not everybody now is on board with this. So they're looking at now and they're like, well, this isn't right. We don't agree with this. But read this article, if you will. This is USA Today. And it says, here's how America could end the Electoral College. Do you know how many countries use some form of this? 10. 10 countries in the world use some form. It's not necessarily always called the Electoral College, but the same idea, the same concept. So you can go and read this and you'll see where it came from. You'll understand better the idea popular versus electoral. And you can also find out how hard it would be to amend the U.S. Constitution if you want to change something. But go and read that. Also, on my agenda this morning, when I say agenda, I mean like agenda of things to do, to tell you about, is this. I just don't think we can forget about the coronavirus situation. Have you seen what's happening in El Paso? It's scary. Texas COVID-19 hospitalizations, new cases risen to levels not seen since August. There you see the numbers this is from the Texas Tribune. That just shows hospitalizations, where we're at. We're not as high as we were in August, but we seem to be heading that direction. And in El Paso, they're saying they're losing control of the hospital. They're losing control of the situation there, that they have so many people now that are in their hospitals, that it's that basic fear that's existed since the beginning of the pandemic. What do you do when you don't have, the needed healthcare facilities? When suddenly they're so crowded and they're so overwhelmed that besides the coronavirus, somebody breaks a leg, has a heart attack, has a stroke, and they wind up in the emergency room. Where do you take them when they're overwhelmed, when the people who work there are overwhelmed? So again, keep an eye on that this weekend. Let's see where we wind up, because there is more going on in this country than just the election, although we kind of feel that way. Also this morning, I got one more thing, but I want to get back to a couple other comments and see what everybody is talking about this morning. Deborah says, RN coworker died from COVID. So sad. Please wear a mask so you can save somebody else's life or so yours. Robin Reeves says, mail-in ballots have really messed up things this morning. Also this morning, I have to read through these the same thing. I am hearing a pep rally going on at Vider High School. I think they've been doing, I'm not sure, Robin, are you saying that this is something different? Or you mean I'm heading to the pep rally? Because haven't they been having pep rallies? I don't know. I don't have anybody in high school, so I'm not really sure. Anna writes this morning, says, Dear Dan, I'm from Quintana Roo. So weather here looks like the hurricane is going to be going into the Gulf of Mexico. What can you tell me about it? Well, pretty much what I said, Anna. If I were you, I would stay tuned to what's going on, but I would also know that at this point, I think most indications and most people are paying really attention to the next 24 to 48 hours. And then they'll start looking beyond that. In the next 48 hours, it's not going to be something that's going to be of concern to the Gulf of Mexico, I don't think. The better thing that you can do is tune in at noon today on KFDM TV, or just follow here on the Facebook page, because Dana updates it on a regular basis, as does Chad, and also Greg. All of our meteorologists will do that. All right, they'll keep it up to date to what's going on. What else do we have there? I think that's pretty much it. I did see an interesting story this morning about stress eating through all of this pandemic election. Apparently, we're doing pretty good at that. So I thought, you know me, I always want to end on something a little lighter. I don't want you thinking, about everything heavy. So especially on a Friday. So let's go out with something, just kind of a sweet idea. Let's go out with the idea of chocolate cake this morning. You know me, I'm always interested in a good meal, whether it's dessert or, I shared the, what was it? We had the ranch recipe on, didn't we? That's what it was. But here you go. How about this one? Texas Monthly posting up a recipe for Truth Barbecue's triple chocolate cake. And if you don't know where Truth Barbecue is, it's in Brenham. And it is one of those places that always seems to make the top 50 barbecue list in Texas Monthly. So if you ever get a chance, you want to go to Truth Barbecue. But when you go to Truth Barbecue, don't be distracted just by brisket and or sausage and or ribs, which they have that are delicious, but also by dessert. Leave room for dessert. Or if you don't think you're going to make it to Brenham anytime soon, they've been kind enough here on the Texas Monthly website to share this one with you. So if you're looking for an adventure this weekend, why not try Truth Barbecue's triple layer chocolate cake? Chocolate icing, chocolate cake. Sounds like a winner to me. So again, it's all right there for you at Texas Monthly, the triple chocolate cake. I couldn't help myself this morning. I had to leave you with something sweet. All right, that does it for me. I want to appreciate everybody for hanging around. Also, I want to remind you that there are lots of ways you can keep up with what's going on. Obviously, here on our Facebook page, you can follow on Twitter, Morning TV Dan, or if you'd like, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Dan's at Home. We try to post all of our updates onto our YouTube channel so you can see them as well, and you'll get the alerts and know that they're coming if you subscribe, all right? Again, appreciate it. If you'll drop us a like, that'd go down well. And also want to remind you, too, that with the weekend here, don't neglect to check in on your friends and neighbors, see how they're doing. You know, maybe put them at ease this morning. If they're all anxiety ridden about things that are happening in the world, you know, maybe we can help each other, you know. Fix that triple chocolate cake and take a slice over and just have a cup of coffee and maybe relax just a little bit and talk about the things that I keep saying are really the center of our universe. And that's our homes and our communities and our family and friends. And just communicate with each other and enjoy the weekend. It is here, so make the most of it. I absolutely plan on doing that beginning right now. I'm going to walk out of here and go and enjoy my time with my family. So you have a terrific day, great weekend. We'll see you back bright and early on Monday morning on KFDM TV. And again, stay tuned. We'll update you throughout the day, both on air and online, as to the situation with the election counting and the election votes and what's going on in our country. So you will be well armed with all the information you need if you just stay tuned. Again, go out and make it a terrific weekend. Look forward to seeing you soon.